Want to welcome you back here to our team coverage as we track Hurricane Milton, a Category 5 storm right now, expected to make landfall in the Tampa Bay area, perhaps south of us, although models are not in agreement right now.
Hurricane Milton is closing in on Florida as a catastrophic Category 5 storm. It is poised to be one of the most destructive natural disasters in Florida's history.
Is literally catastrophic, and I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Manny and Shawn Experience Podcast, episode 88. My name is Manny.
And I'm Shawn.
And I'm on a rolly chair, so I'm going around in circles for whatever reason today. Welcome back. We have been gone for a minute.
Yes, we have.
We accomplished a vacation of a lifetime, and outrun a hurricane, and didn't outrun one of the hurricanes. It's been a journey the last 3.5 weeks.
It has.
Have you been?
It's been good, right? Like, there was a high, there was a low, there was a high, there was a low. It's been a roller coaster ride.
It's been a roller coaster. That's a good way to explain the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
But this week, we're kind of splitting up our vacation episode podcast because, hurricane happened.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about Hurricane Milton. And we will talk about our actual vacation trip next episode.
Yes, and everyone, let's give Shawn a round of applause. He has started his Invisalign Sure Smile treatment this week, and he is just overjoyed.
If I sound different or sound funny at any point in time during this, then that is why. I'm wearing my aligners. I have my elastics in. This is only day 3, so...
We're the old men that started Invisalign for whatever reason.
Look, I always wanted to fix my crowded teeth at the bottom, and now I'm getting them fixed.
Hey,
and I will feel great about it once this is done.
20 to 40 years when we die, we'll have perfect teeth, preparing them for death. Anyways, that's morbid. Let's go on into the mixtape where we're going to share with you all the things.
You're in the mix.
Welcome to the mixtape.
We're back in the mix.
So we're going to tell you all about Spain and our cruise on episode 89. This episode 88, we're going to do a sequel. What's after?
A prequel is what happened before.
Okay, never mind. I don't know what this is. This is the post-trip, but we're starting with the post-trip because, I don't know, it makes more sense to talk about it. And then we end on a positive next week.
Got it.
So picture it. It was Friday, October, whatever. We're sitting on the deck and enjoying our cruise. It was day 6 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting ready to get into Ibiza. We were excited. We were overnighting in Ibiza. I don't know. I'm trying to be like the locals.
For those of you who don't speak European, we went to Ibiza.
Don't speak European.
Well, they pronounce it differently.
I think it's the Spaniards.
Oh, yeah, the Spaniards. My bad. Look, again, it's been a crazy 2 weeks, okay? We were in Europe. We were in France. We were in Spain. Like
We were on islands. We crossed time zones.
a lot.
So yeah, so it's Friday before the trip was over. And I think we were eating dinner.
I don't even know.
No, we weren't eating. We were having a snack, and we opened our phone, and we were like, "Oh, cool! A storm is starting." And if you didn't know or didn't follow our social, and we'll probably talk about it in the next episode, we were outrunning a hurricane when we were going for this trip.
Yeah,
That was
and also
Hurricane
starting. Helene.
That one was, I think that was scarier because we're like, this whole trip's going to get ruined. I know that's a very selfish thing to say. The whole trip's gonna get ruined.
It's fine. We'll get to it.
But anyways, that was that one. So we're like, okay, cool. You know, they're projecting a hurricane when we get back. When we get back, this is fine. This is great. And then I think it was Saturday, we were all sitting in the galley on the cruise ship. My parents, my sister, I think Tracy and Rogue. And we look at it, and it's like Category 4 coming straight for Tampa.
Yeah.
And we've always been told that Tampa has been lucky. Tampa has these burial grounds they talk about, Indian burial grounds that were blessed this coast, and that a direct hit would never happen.
I don't believe any of that. But whatever.
I don't know. I'm beginning to believe it because they always take a last minute turn, but that's also science.
And that's also knock on wood. The season isn't over.
The season is not over. So that's Saturday. We're still in Ibiza. We're trying to enjoy the last night on the cruise. But I was getting a little concerned because I'm like, this is getting really big. And I'm like, we're trying to outrun it back home now. Because now we're like, please don't cancel our flight going back home because we need to go secure the house.
Yeah.
So it's Sunday now. We're getting off the ship.
Mm-hmm.
The hurricane has intensified incredibly.
It's a Category 5.
Of winds of 180 miles. I don't think in my 40 years of life have seen a hurricane that strong.
I mean, there have been Cat 5s during your lifetime, but
No, yeah, Cat 5s, but not 180. Because I don't think Hurricane Andrew had winds that high when it came. But anyways, 180 miles an hour. I really started to get concerned, and I usually don't get concerned about hurricanes.
No, I mean, typically here where we are, we've been, like you said, lucky. And the most we get is like some tropical storm force winds. Maybe we have a Cat 1, Cat 2 come through. And those are usually like, for most Floridians, oh, we're just going to have a hurricane party. But getting into the 4s and the 5s, those are scary because wind is a factor and also storm surge is a factor. We live in evacuation zone C, and they had already done a mandatory evacuation for zone A
And
B. So it's like, well, you're next. And
I mean, this is before we even like, I think we were already on our way when this happened.
yeah.
We were in the air.
Yeah. So yeah, that is scary because you don't know, even though this is a newer built home, the chances of there being no damage through a 4 or a 5 is unlikely. So we were really worried because we did want to get home to take care of things.
Yeah, we wanted to secure the house, wanted to be with the dog. We also had a house sitter here while we were on vacation. So we wanted to make sure they could get home, or if they wanted to evacuate, they could evacuate.
Right.
Yeah, so my biggest concern was not so much the wind, it was more the surge. We don't live on the water. We just happen to be very close to the bay. And before y'all get crazy, it doesn't mean we live in a very fancy beachside community, because we don't.
No.
It's just literally the bay where the port is very close to us.
Yeah, it's about a 10-minute drive.
So when I heard 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, I'm like, holy cripey. We're not that far from, like, literally one road separates us between evacuation zone B and C. So I'm like, if 15 feet surge come in, that was my concern. Like, how does that factor into our neighborhood? Though our neighborhood, they say, has been mitigated for flooding. You just never know until it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I was concerned about flooding, but not too concerned about it. I mean, it just depended on like where the storm is going to hit, which that kept changing as well.
Yeah.
The time frame for when the storm would actually be here kept changing.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of factors that we didn't know
Yeah.
concretely.
So we were on a plane from Barcelona to Portugal, Portugal to Miami, of which we got to Miami at like 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
On Sunday. So we took one of those weird flights where you leave like the afternoons on the other side and you still get here on the same day. Those are trippy. If you've never been on one of those, very trippy. Like we left, well, we'll talk about that on the other episode, but this one you left late, but you got here still before anyways. So we're watching the storm. As soon as we check into our hotel, okay, let me tell you about Customs and Border Protection again. This happened on our Norse trip. Y'all want to get rid of Customs Border Protection or whatever the hell Donald Trump want to do. There's not enough of these motherfucking people to begin with, first of all. And we keep cutting funding for them because we keep saying it's going to the immigrants, but it's really going to hire more people. And let me tell you how desperate they need to hire more people. There was one person checking passports when we arrived into Miami. There was more international flights arriving behind us. Our flight was full.
Yeah.
It was at least 300 people. And it's like one fucking Customs and Border Protection agent. My gripe continues with the U.S. Border Protection. And hopefully this doesn't ban me from traveling in the future. But I need y'all to get y'all shit together. I don't know who needs to do it. I assume it's Congress. But y'all don't ever want to do anything because it's prettier to just fight over stupid shit instead of funding what you need to fund. But it was annoying. The lady was very nice this time, though.
The lady was nice. I mean, there more agents came.
Two agents showed up.
So
there was a total of 3 working international flights.
I don't know what to tell you.
Not to defend them.
More. I wasn't defending them. I'm just saying more came. I don't want people to think just one agent was checking in 300 people.
There was 3 eventually, and one was exclusively for global entry. Fine. That's a whole nother story.
But yes, it took a while to get our bags, so we didn't get to the hotel until late.
1 a.m.
So yeah.
And the check-in guy was so nice because he was here like going through the whole spiel, and I'm like, I just want a key to a room so I can shower and go to bed. But he was like, breakfast is served. I'm like, oh, you're so nice. Normally this would be great.
Normally it would, except there was a hurricane coming and we needed to get back home. So we stayed in Miami that night. We were watching weather reports. And when we got up the next day, which was Tuesday.
It was Monday
time.
Yeah, we got to the hotel room at 1.
Yes.
We were in bed by like 2:30 a.m. And
so
then got up early on Monday.
We got up to head to the train station because we took Brightline from Orlando to Miami, and it was raining. I feel like the outer bands had already started.
The storm was huge.
The storm was massive.
The storm was massive. So we're going Miami to Orlando, not Orlando to Miami.
Right.
Okay. You said Orlando to Miami.
I said we took Brightline from Orlando to Miami. We were taking Brightline back
Listening
to
is
Orlando.
fundamental.
It is.
Ooh, F you.
So, I mean, we got there fine. We got to Orlando and headed straight to the car and headed straight back home.
It was eerie driving back to Tampa because everybody was going the opposite direction. Everybody was getting out of Tampa.
Yeah.
And we're like, woohoo, we're going back to Tampa.
I mean, the time to get home was great.
It was the shortest drive for, if any of you have done the Orlando to Tampa, Tampa to Orlando drive, you just want to like slam your face into glass.
Yeah, you know how much I-4.
This took like almost an hour, maybe like 5 minutes. I'm like, I didn't know it was that possible to get from Orlando to Tampa that quickly.
Yeah.
And we were further in Orlando because we were coming from the airport.
From the airport.
So anyways, that was a positive out of this.
Yeah. We got home and I mean, we just went into action and all our neighbors were already starting to pull up their hurricane shutters. And
it's like we came back as we were turning the neighborhood. It felt like we were going into a war zone.
Yeah, everyone was doing everything they needed to do at that moment. Yeah. And like we came home, we took some stuff out of the car and then we did the same thing and got to work.
Yeah, I mean, it flipped the switch. We were like, oh, gotta do this, that. Yeah. We decided not to unpack some of our clothes just in case. Because up until this point, I think the hurricane was tracking as a 4, upper level 4.
It was.
And we were still kind of like, well, upper level 4 is very scary.
The thing is, they kept saying that it is going to lose energy, so it will decrease in category before it hits. And
it was the Democrats steering the hurricane.
And so
that is sarcasm.
We kept watching the news because we didn't know if we would have to evacuate or not. We got the shutters up in about an hour, which was great.
Yeah.
We needed supplies.
I was able to get groceries through Kroger's. It was like, I think it was the last delivery they were doing because when my mom went to do it, there was no times available.
Yeah.
So we got the little bit of food we could, which was Spam, chicken in a can,
some soup,
and boxes of snacks and chips.
Yeah. We had already had water.
We had water because we bought a bunch of water before we left on the last.
Yeah.
Because of the other hurricane.
Right. So after we got everything, the house settled, whatever, it was just like, well, now we just need to figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah. And I think we relied a lot on the science and the meteorologists because I was believing that it was going to encounter shear, which disrupts the growth and development of a hurricane. So that's what I was laying into and really trusting the science. Even if it was coming straight for Tampa, I'm like, well, at the end of the day, it should be a category 3 by the time it hits us.
Right.
And I'm like, houses are pretty much better at handling 3s than 4s and 5s.
Right.
And if you don't know the hurricane scale, you can Google that. It's dependent on winds, essentially, how strong the winds are.
Homework.
Have some homework.
So at this time, though, the storm was also changing in the speed that it was moving. Because at first they had the storm being here at like 2 a.m. on Thursday. And then I guess the storm may have sped up some. And then it was like the timeline was shifting and also the track was shifting.
Yeah, it started going, the model started dipping it south.
Yeah.
In a sense was better, and I hate to say this.
For us.
It was better for Tampa region because the eye would not go over the bay, because that was the biggest concern, is the eye going over the bay was going to push all that water from the bay into Tampa.
Right.
And I don't know what would have been left of Tampa if that happened.
Just for clarification for that, there's certain parts of Tampa, especially like the West Shore area, near the airport area, like
Shore,
where
downtown Tampa,
a regular thunderstorm can flood those areas.
Yeah.
So like it being close to the water and it being a hurricane. So rain plus water from the ocean is just like,
Yeah, because you're going to deal with surge from the ocean and
Yeah.
then freshwater flooding as well.
it would have been horrible.
Right. So when it started dipping more to the south, we're like, okay, it's not going to be a direct point, because I know we got a lot of messages of, why aren't you leaving?
We did.
And we were really taking the trust of the meteorologists that we were watching, trusting in the science, because we believe in science here. I don't believe there's a a party, working on the science of the hurricane and throwing sparkle dust on it to make it stronger or weaker. We actually believe real science. I may need to explain that further on in the podcast. But once we saw it taking that slight turn to the south, we're like, okay, I think we can stay here.
Yeah.
And then they were still very stuck in their conviction that it was going to drop to at least a 3 or only 5 miles over. That would put it into a 4 category. And I'm like, okay, it's low 4 is good.
Right.
I think it was like went to 140, something like that,
Something
145.
like that. And then it was, we had been talking to our neighbors who also said they were staying. So we felt a little comfort in that as well. It was nice to see people helping each other out in the neighborhood.
Oh, you can get a community together during a disaster.
You can. We will put our differences aside to help each other most of the time.
Most of the time.
So that leads us to Wednesday.
Yes.
And
Well, Tuesday was a lot of wait and see.
Tuesday was a lot of wait and see.
Tuesday was like track moved up, moved down, weaker, stronger. We're like, what the fuck is happening? But by Wednesday, we're like, we still have time to get out if we need to.
Yes. Not much, but we
still
have
have
time because the timeline once again had changed for when the storm was going to be here.
Yeah, because now it was more like the eye would be here at like 8 something
Right.
in the evening versus 2 something.
In the morning. So that's a big time.
Big time
jump.
change.
So we were like, we're going to ride it out. And we did. And we kept an eye on the news. We were kind of it's just a wait and see what happens.
Yeah, hurricane is just like, are you coming? We started really feeling the hurricane around 8 something.
Yeah, it was windy. It was rainy.
Kind of where the eye hit or came ashore, I think like Sarasota, Manatee area.
Yeah.
Which is only like, 30, 40 miles away south of us.
Right.
The eye was still going to skim close to us, but it was going to be inland. And I think that went maybe like 20 miles to the south of us.
Yeah, there was a lot of periods of wind and rain. And then it would actually like stop for a while and then pick back up.
And between the hours of like 8 and probably like, I don't know, midnight.
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. This ain't. I kept saying, I'm like, this is it. Mind you, we did lose power at 10:30 in the evening, which was shocking because we've never lost power here for longer than like 3 to 4 hours.
But yeah, we lost power and we were like, well, I guess we'll go to bed.
Yeah, we're like, we're going to bed.
And we'll just try to sleep through this, which was difficult because there were periods of time where you would fall asleep and then you would hear the wind. And this hurricane had produced 3 tornadoes in South Florida. And you just never knew if the wind was just the wind or is there a tornado forming or coming.
I think there was a total of 9 tornadoes out of this hurricane, which I don't know the stats, but I felt like that was really high.
Yeah.
Like usually you can get a tornado from a hurricane, but this was a lot.
So even parts of South Florida that weren't affected by the hurricane still got tornadoes from the hurricane.
Yeah.
So it would wake us up here and there. And it was just really scary at times, not gonna lie, because the wind just sounded hitting against the house, hitting against the shutters. it's just a noise that you can't really describe. But you also don't know what's happening because you can't look outside.
Right. I was originally saying this was probably the second strongest hurricane I've been in. And after further evaluation, I think this was the strongest hurricane I've ever stayed in. I don't think I ever had a fear of my house is going to fly.
Yeah.
My biggest fear was, is it a tornado? Because usually they say you can kind of distinguish between a tornado and regular winds. I've lived through a tornado, so yes, it does sound like a freight train, like people say. The issue with these ones were they sound like the tornado. A lot of the times it sounded like the tornado, and that's what would wake me up. It's like, I'm like, do I need to run? No, it sounds like it's just wind.
Yeah.
The second half of the hurricane was way stronger than the first half. Like, even though the hurricane sped up and it arrived at like 8 something, I feel like after midnight, it was so intense.
Yeah.
And to Sean's point about the noise that we cannot describe, it's literally hearing wind because, you know, our house, I don't know how houses are built necessarily, but I know on the outside of our house, there are these things, they're like vents where the wind can run through the house. It's like a hurricane mitigation thing. And when you hear the wind run through that in the outside of your house, that I assume leads somewhat into our house, into the top framing of the house.
Ventilation.
It's just like crackling and bending, and you're like, is this normal? Is the cracking and bending normal that you're hearing? And to hear that, and it's just very consistent. You're like, holy shit. And maybe at like one point throughout the night, I said, this was a bad idea to stay here. Because the wind was so intense for such a consistent time. I was like, oh my God, like, I really thought the roof might at least break off a little bit. I don't know. I didn't think, again, the house was going to blow away, but definitely there was some fear of the roof because I had never heard sounds like that before. And I've been here for a long time. I've been through a lot of hurricanes. This one was probably the scariest one I've been, only because, again, you can't see. Why the fuck do these things always come at night too? Like, I need to see what's happening.
Why do you want to see?
I need to see if I need to run to something. Anyways, we got.
Where you gonna run to?
I don't know. Another room. There's all these shutters. The shutters are up. The only thing we can see out is the back window because we left it open because I have total fear of encapsulating the entire house. Something happens in front of the house, we can't get out of the front of the house, and then there's no other door to get out, and then we're fucked. So we made the decision not to enclose the back. And then I tried looking back there, but it's so dark because the power's out. You can't see shit. You can't see nothing.
No.
And so you have no clue what is happening. You don't know if there's a tornado forming, 50 yards away from you or anything. Like, you just don't know. You don't know. So
Shelter in place.
I know, shelter in place, but they say if there's a tornado, you should go to a more inner part of your house, and our room is exterior, obviously.
Right.
So it was definitely a good, intense 3 to 4 hours, and this was again after midnight. I have a friend that lives to the north of us, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's storming here so bad, it's windy," and I'm like, it's not that bad here. It's not that bad here. I'm like, how is she getting the hardest part when we're closer to the eye? But fool you, it came afterwards.
I mean, the storm was massive, and I don't think people understand the scale of it. There was an article that I saw that compared, it was either Ian or Katrina to Milton, because they were both the same category and the same speed. But when you look at the satellite picture, the Ian Katrina hurricanes were like this small. As for Milton, it was like this. It was
Can you describe that for the people that aren't watching?
Okay, I'm sorry. It was like
softball, or what are you thinking?
Sure, we can do balls.
A pan pizza, small, medium, or large.
It was like Katrina and Ian were like a tennis ball. And Milton, I would say, was probably the size of like a kickball.
I mean,
that help?
the entire state was literally under either a hurricane watch or a hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. The entire state.
Yeah.
Which is very rare.
But again, like, I know some people don't believe in climate change, but like storms are just going to get worse because the oceans are wet, hotter.
Yeah. And I don't know if 180 is the highest the hurricane has ever gotten to. I feel like it's the highest I've ever heard.
I mean, Cat 5 is the top of the list.
I know, but I'm just like sustained winds of 180 miles.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen or heard of that going on land. And had this hurricane not encountered the shear and the cold front that was coming through, I don't know how strong that hurricane would have gotten here, because the waters on the coast of Florida are abnormally hot. I can assure you, had that hurricane stayed the way it was, I would have rented a U-Haul, packed all the important shit in this house, and said, I will be filing a claim once the hurricane's over, because I don't know that anything in Tampa would have survived of a hurricane of 180 miles.
No.
I mean, I just don't think so. And for people that just don't believe in climate change, I need you to just stop not believing in it, because it's real. The government is not out here trying to make storms stronger. The government is not out here trying to say they're going to make it weaker when they want to. There was actually science that made this hurricane weaker. Had it not been for that, Florida would have probably been just sliced in the middle with this storm.
And when he says science, he means that there was a stream that sheared.
And such shear and a cold front.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I just want to make sure, because you said science made this weaker. I want to make sure that people understand that he doesn't mean like there's some scientists out there making the storm weaker or stronger, like some people out there believe.
If you think that, you're just a fucking idiot.
I agree.
You truly are a fucking idiot. Do you
Marjorie Taylor
Do
Greene.
you not think that if we had the science to kill these storms, we would kill them versus make them stronger? Why do we want to put people, upend people's lives, spend more federal dollars? Like, it just doesn't make sense that we would make storms stronger, make them weaker. If we had the science or the ability to make hurricanes disappear, I think we would be spraying that shit out there every time we could.
Yes, but we'll get to that later. We'll end our story first.
I guess I'm getting ahead because this is probably his issue.
So after the next day, we woke up, still no power.
6:30 in the morning.
We ventured out because Kenji, he's a dog. He has to go to the bathroom.
He was actually very good throughout the storm.
He was good throughout the whole thing. We took him out for a walk.
Surveyed
the damage outside. Thankfully, like, our house didn't sustain any damage. We still want to have someone look at the roof, just to be safe. But from the outside, like, no exterior damage.
No, our area really was mostly trees down.
Yeah.
Some people did have shingles ripped off their roof in our area or our specific community. Thankfully, ours did not. And then the power saga continued after the hurricane.
Yeah. So we stayed here Thursday. No power. Friday came, no power. So we were like...
Well, Tico sent us a message saying, Tico's our electricity company. They're like, hey, Booze, we working on this, but maybe in a week or so, we can get you some power.
Yeah, they didn't have a definite date of when power would be returned. So we were like, let's just go to your parents' house because they have power in Orlando, and we'll just stay there for the weekend. We'll take extra clothes just in case power doesn't come back over the weekend, which we did. We went to Orlando. We had a good time. It was
great time.
Fun little visit.
We got to celebrate my dad's birthday. We hung out with the fam.
Yeah.
We were there till Tuesday because Tuesday we finally got
Power back.
Even though Tico tried to trick us on Sunday, talking about it's back,
And it wasn't.
and it wasn't. It wasn't back. So we stuck around until we confirmed Tuesday with multiple people. Like, do we have power back?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want to drive back and not have power because Shawn and I also were working remotely. So it's like, we need to work. We cannot not work.
Right.
Even though I think both of our employers were more than understanding and weren't forcing us to return to work.
No.
But we know that if we continued to take hurricane days, we were just screwing ourselves in the end with work.
Yeah.
Because the work just sits there. It just doesn't go away.
I mean, I do feel bad for people who didn't have anywhere to go, because there were people that stayed here the whole time and they were 5 days without power.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was cool after the hurricane left. Like the temperatures were cool, but they went back up. So like,
And also, people had their generators going.
yeah, that was another thing.
I mean, lucky you had a generator, but the amount of fumes that put out into the neighborhood was wild.
Yeah, so we had the windows open to get air to come in because no AC, duh. But then with the fumes, like you had to shut your windows because then your house started to smell like gasoline.
You know, carbon monoxide, poisoning. That's
so,
the thing.
Yeah, that we got back. We had power. We took down the hurricane shutters. And we kind of went back to normal.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
This weekend will be a sorting. Well, when this comes out, the weekend after, after the hurricane, we definitely we're just getting the house sorted. But thankfully, we were good. Nothing happened. Thank you to everybody who reached out to us.
Yes.
We know there's people in much greater situations than we are. We definitely hope they can get their issues fixed and get the help they need. Don't be a dummy. Apply for FEMA. I did. We got denied, but that's okay.
It's okay.
But if you are a person that needs help, definitely check out, I think it's FEMA.org or FEMA.gov. They have the application for assistance. You can put your application there. I just wondering how many more hurricanes Florida can take before it loses all of its insurance providers.
Yeah. Insurance companies are dropping people left and right. And all of them are saying the same thing. It's because of hurricanes. And they don't want to insure you because you live in a place where a hurricane may come through.
Yep. So that was our hurricane experience. We wanted to share it with you because we are the Manny and Shawn experience. And then next episode, we'll bring you all the craziness that was Spain and our 7-day cruise aboard Virgin Voyages.
Yes.
But again, we thank so much. We had so many people message us and people concerned, like you're staying. I assure you, we would never have stayed if we had any concrete doubt. Like I had some, but I think that's normal to have a little bit of doubt. But from what we knew with the weather, from what we've lived through, from what we saw, I was like, we don't need to run.
Right.
And so we definitely used all the resources we had to us. We didn't just like, fuck it, we're going to stay because we can. We definitely weighed out all the options, pros and cons before we left.
Yes.
Or stayed. Some of you might be like, well, you lost power and you still left. Yeah, well, that was after the fact. We didn't know the power was going to go out for 5 days. But that's going to wrap up the mixtape. We're going to move into what's your issue.
What's your issue?
Welcome back to What's Your Issue. Dun, 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 dun. Boom.
Is that a new theme song?
Yeah, it's mine.
Okay.
Vote for it. Would you like? No, I'm just.
No, don't do that.
Go ahead, Shawn. He is ready. His phone is open, and he is ready to share what's his issue this week. I think he may have previewed it in the mixtape.
So I'm gonna talk about.
I'll stop.
I'm gonna talk about all the misinformation that has been surrounding hurricanes, FEMA relief, and just the idiocracy of people. So most of y'all know that we can't stand Marjorie Taylor Greene for a number of reasons.
What are you talking about? I'm gonna grab a margarita with her later.
For real?
We're gonna talk about space lasers and not being able to wash clothes after dark.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene repeated on social media claims that humans can control the weather in the midst of a series of deadly hurricanes. She said, yes, they can control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it can't be done. She posted this after Helene.
Which caused massive destruction in the Panhandle, Georgia, which is her fucking state,
And North Carolina.
and North Carolina. I believe South Carolina too.
Probably. If Asheville was affected, I'm sure South Carolina was affected.
I think it was that hurricane was crazy too because it continued up the eastern seaboard, affected some of the Midwest. That was crazy. And if you didn't believe in weather after that, then you're an idiot too.
You very much are.
Or as Chef Ramsay would say, "You're an idiot sandwich."
So, not only did Marjorie Taylor Greene pipe up and say stupid shit, the man that she loves and worships also piped up and said some stupid shit.
Jesus?
Donald Trump.
Oh.
I'm sure she loves Jesus as well. Maybe. I don't know.
She don't know what Jesus is.
But after Helene, for a week, there's a week timeline here of everything that Trump said through that week that was wrong.
Do we have enough time?
And
on the podcast?
we do.
Okay.
Because I'm going to make it quick.
Okay.
So Monday, he falsely claims that Biden hasn't answered calls from the Georgia governor.
Correct.
That was a lie.
What are we on the Maury show?
Oh, this is, it's kind of, well, everything's going to be a lie. So
in the case of Donald Trump saying
that Biden called the governor of Georgia, that is a lie.
you have to say, the results say
that's
a lie.
That is a lie. Anyway, President Biden did call Governor Kemp and offered all of his services and all of his help.
And the governor of South Carolina also confirmed while being interviewed that the president had called and had reassured him that all the help they needed was on its way.
Did you say South Carolina or North Carolina?
South Carolina.
Okay.
I saw a governor from South Carolina.
Okay. Well, this also on Monday, it was also North Carolina as well.
Well, everybody just came out and said hallelujah. But isn't the governor of North Carolina a Democrat?
He is.
We don't talk about him because
he
doesn't fit their narrative. They're saying Biden doesn't help red states.
Yes, that is part of this whole thing. Anyway, let's skip to Thursday.
We're moving on to Thursday.
Trump falsely claims that Biden and Harris' response has received universally negative reviews.
Oh.
I don't know why we're grading things. I don't know why this man likes to pull numbers out of his
Is there
ass.
a Google review for hurricane preparation?
I don't think there is.
Oh.
I think he just made that shit up.
Okay.
Like he does everything
Well,
he does.
I have a friend who joined Donald Trump's mailing list.
Okay.
And he sends random ass polls out, apparently. Maybe that's where he gets his numbers. He sends it to his constituents that are obviously going to be on his side.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me, but also why? Anyway, Trump wrote on social media that Biden and Harris are universally being given poor grades for what they are handling the hurricane, especially in North Carolina. And again, that wasn't even remotely true. For example, the Republican South Carolina governor said Tuesday at a press conference that Biden had been superb, that they got all the federal assistance they needed.
He wasn't part of that poll.
But he's a Republican.
But he wasn't part of that poll.
Anyway.
They sent this poll out to people that live like everywhere besides North Carolina.
Right.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
Here's the real kicker that has really pushed my fucking buttons because of a news story that I'm going to play a little snippet from.
Loosen up.
So Trump has falsely claimed that Harris has spent all of her FEMA money on housing illegal immigrants. Mm-hmm. Now, he also claims that FEMA is only giving people $750 who lost their homes. Mm-hmm. This lie has been spread on Facebook and shared over, I forgot how many times, thousands of times, of people.
You don't need facts, just say millions.
Okay. No,
everybody else does. No, I'm just playing.
He said at a campaign rally, they're offering them $750 to people whose homes have been washed away. And yet we send tens of billions of dollars to foreign countries that most people have never heard of. They're offering them $750. They've been destroyed. These people have been destroyed, he said. So this is a lie. FEMA is giving people $750 as a quick way to get necessities such as food, baby formula, hotel stays, things like that. You can apply for thousands of more dollars. I think the limit is up to $42,500 that you can apply to get. And that is money that you do not have to pay back to FEMA. The only reason you would have to pay this money back or any portion of it is if you file an insurance claim after and you get a check from your insurance company. Then you will have to pay whatever portion that is back to FEMA.
Which FEMA clearly tells you when applying to apply through your insurance company first.
Right.
And then if there is miscoverage, then FEMA could assist with remaining.
Correct. This brings me to what really pissed me off. Oh. I'm going to play this little snippet for you.
Play it. Play it.
And it's just heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
Meanwhile, a North Carolina man is blaming former President Trump for his father-in-law's refusal to get help from FEMA. A man identifying himself as Anthony called into the Dan Abrams show on Sirius XM saying his father-in-law in Asheville only believes the former president, and it is actually breaking up our family.
My father-in-law lives just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and he was badly damaged by Hurricane Helene. And he has refused all FEMA help because he's a hardcore Trumper. And he literally believes that if he accepts anything from FEMA, they're going to take his house. I don't understand how so many people are under the spell of this freaking con man. I don't understand it.
To hear it, I hope.
And it's hard to even imagine it. I mean, he lost almost everything, and he's refusing all help from the federal government and complaining to us that he doesn't have food, that he doesn't have the stuff he needs, and yet he won't accept the help. What the hell are we supposed to do? We're not in a position to be able to fly across the country and help him. Yeah. There's people begging us to get him to accept help, and he won't do it.
Wow.
All of that. We've done all of that. We've sent him all the FEMA bulletins. We've sent him all the stuff from the fact checkers. He doesn't believe it. He thinks he just believes Trump. Literally, Dan. It's a cult. He's a cult member. I'm sorry to say it. He's a cult member. And he's my father-in-law, and it sucks.
Okay, so this man's father-in-law is in Asheville, and he has nothing, and he wants his family to send him money to buy food and water and whatever the case may be, and he's refusing help from FEMA because he fears that they are going to take his house if he accepts any money from them. This is another rumor and lie spread by fucking Donald Trump. This shit is so annoying. And I know that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and this man lies through his teeth every fucking day. But the thing is, people believe that if they accept money from FEMA, then they have a right to your home. And there is writing right there in any document or fine print that you get from FEMA that says that they do not have the right to take any of your property. And this man is suffering for no reason because a rich millionaire, billionaire has told him that this government assistance is bad for you. I am so sick and tired of them just spouting off anything they want to spout off and people not being able to fact check anything that they say or believe anything that anybody tells them that this shit ain't real and just taking them at fucking face value. I'm also a component of play stupid games to win stupid prizes. While I do feel bad for this man, at the same time, you chose to believe this man over here while your family is begging you to take the aid that is being given to you. So, while I feel bad for the family, I really don't feel bad for you, sir. You have made your bed, and now you are going to have to lie in it. I'm over we send millions of thousands of dollars to Ukraine or wherever the fuck, and we're Americans and America first. All that is true. And all of that could be helped if Republicans didn't block things and make it harder for you to get access to things. But everyone is so mind fucked by Donald Trump and his lackeys that y'all believe that immigrants are eating dogs, immigrants are taking jobs, immigrants are pouring into the country in the millions, not thousands, millions of people crossing the border, which is fucking impossible. But you believe all the things that they say, and once they get in the office, they don't do shit for you. But you'll sit up here and praise and hibbity hop them all fucking day long. You vote against your best interests. I'm really nervous with this election. It should not be as close as it is. There's one clear person that cares about everybody in this country, and there's one man that cares about himself. And yet y'all continue to give this man money. You continue to give him attention. You continue to give him power. I just do not understand it at all. I am so done with people saying that there's two sides. And yes, I'm able to sit down and have an intelligent conversation with somebody that believes this man's lies. But I'm so done with dealing with all of you. And whatever you get come November, that is what you get. Don't come crying. Don't come saying shit to me because I don't have it for you. I don't have it for anybody at this point. I really don't. I don't have it for you. That's my issue.
Wow. Spirited conversation we've had here today.
I'm sorry. That wasn't very conversational. I apologize.
It wasn't. But
do you have anything to say?
Couldn't find anywhere to interject. I felt like I was at a sermon and just watching the sermon happen. I felt I needed to do a little hallelujah.
I'm tired.
I'm bored. I'm tired.
Nah.
I'm getting tired.
I'm getting tired.
I mean, there's not much to say beyond what you've said. I mean, it's all true. I have no empathy for anybody who decides not to take the help that's offered for you. You deserve everything that you get. And I'm sorry, that may sound like I'm a cold individual, but I'm like, you made that choice not to take that because you're believing a person that has been nothing but a liar and has served nothing but trash over the last couple of years and continues to spread lies over an election that was never really stolen. So, I mean, if you decide to believe that and you decide to not take that help, then you can go hungry and whatever comes to you, comes to you. And as bad as that sounds, I really don't have any empathy. I have empathy for the families who have to sit there and live through knowing that their loved one is stupid enough not to receive the help that's being afforded to him because of one man and his lies. That's who I feel bad for. I don't feel bad for the individual that is going through it because he chose that.
Yeah.
Just like anybody else out there that decides not to take help because they believe the trash that is Donald Trump and his minions. FEMA organization is there exactly for that, to help individuals in need. They may not be the fastest, and they may not be able to recover everything that you've lost, but they are there to help. And any money at that point is better than nothing. I applied for it because they said you can receive money if your electricity was out for longer than 48 hours. They told us we did not have substantial damages, and that was fine. That's 100% fine. I can be fair with that. I'm like, send that money obviously to somebody else that is more needing than myself.
Agreed.
And this total disregard for science and saying that we have the mechanics to make weather is really asinine to me, because it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Well, it's not the stupidest fucking thing. There's been a lot of stupid fucking things
It's been a lot
over the last 16 years. Excuse me, you talked enough already. If hurricanes were able to be managed by humans, don't you fucking think we would do everything in our power to dispel the hurricane? Because do you know how much billions of dollars are spent in disaster recovery? And it's not just personal homes, personal businesses. I'm sure there's governmental agencies. I'm sure there's an Air Force base here in Tampa. I'm sure MacDill Air Force Base suffered quite a bit of damage from both hurricanes that have come through here. And that's our money, our tax money being put into that. So if we had the power to make a hurricane disappear and turn it into a Sunday afternoon shower, don't you think we'd fucking do that? If we can avoid tornadoes ripping through the Midwest and destroying homes where we have to use more federal financial dollars, don't you think we would stop that from happening? If we could stop the fires from happening over in the West Coast because of dry and the excessive heat, don't you think we would stop that? It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I didn't want to lose my point there.
No, that's fine. What you said reminded me of something, is that the right is saying that they are steering these hurricanes into Republican states or red states. I'm just like...
I'm sorry, Georgia is a blue state.
I'm just like...
So is North Carolina as of the last election.
I'm just... These states are by the water, girl. Hurricanes form in the water. Like, make it make sense for me, because it don't. It don't.
I don't know. And what good is sending a hurricane specifically to a red state? Because there's blue people living there just as much as red, if we want to get into the semantics of this. Like, you're going to hurt the blue just to get to the red? Is that what?
But...
no, it doesn't make sense.
If we can control the weather, then... And if we're trying to take out all the red states, then we'll have a hurricane form in the middle of Nebraska then. Is that possible? No. It's not possible.
I would start questioning science at that point.
Right. And hurricanes have been around forever.
And they've never been this strong. Like, when we talk about strong hurricanes, we think about Katrina, Hurricane Andrew. Those were strong. We're talking about hurricanes now that are explosive. They grow overnight. There's no longer these long waiting periods of a storm starting out by Africa and slowly turning into a tropical storm, maybe a hurricane. They consistently get worse.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm on the Truman Show and all of this is fake. Like, I can't imagine.
You're in a good place.
I can't imagine that people are actually this dumb.
You better believe it, Dano. And we're about to stop teaching things if Donald Trump becomes president. All right, we're going to move.
We are.
I did have an issue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I may just skip it at this point. Because I did have another point. Because I did hear something this morning, Donald Trump was on Fox and Friends. That should be your first signal. And he said they're going to get rid of the Department of Education. And then one of the Fox and Friends anchors asked, what about a liberal place like California where they want to, and I am paraphrasing, but I'm very close. He said, when they want to introduce new was the word they use, new history, where they talk about how this country was built on the backs of slaves and stolen land. I don't know where this person was educated, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that 250 years ago or plus, I don't know where we're at right now, when settlers came from the United Kingdom, I don't know if it was called that back then.
Europe.
That they placed land here in the United States, or whatever it was called, Espanol. I don't know. I went to public school. It's not the best. But we did learn history at some point. You're telling me they came to this land and they started building everything all on their own. The indigenous people that were here, we didn't steal the land from them. We bartered for it. You mean we didn't kill Indians and take their land? And now in our country, we just concentrate them to small pieces of land that we're willing to give them, even though this land was theirs? That was the craziest thing. New history. It is not new history. It is real history. We want to continuously run away from real history. Feel what you want about racism. Feel what you want about slavery. The fact of the matter is that slaves were brought to this country to help build this country. And that's real history. It's not new history. And it still happens till this day across this world, unfortunately. And I would go on a limb and say that slavery still happens in some shape or form right now. It may not be back in the day history.
Yeah, that's what trafficking is.
I saw that, and that wasn't even my issue. My issue was really about Halloween candy. But I saw it and I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like, it is not new history. Why are we so scared of the history that formed this country? I don't give a fuck if you're a white individual that feels uncomfortable that we're talking about slaves. It's our fucking history. We deserve to know our history. Our kids, our grandkids deserve to know how this country was created. For the hope, only the hope that the future of this world, or at least this country, can correct the wrongs that created this country. But we rather run from it. We rather say, oh, are you going to feel bad that we talked about slavery today? Do you own slaves? Then why do you feel bad about it? Take in the knowledge, learn about it, correct yourself, so you maybe won't be walking around outside with so much entitlement when you go places. I'm going to leave my Halloween candy issue for another day.
Good. What's your issue?
I'm done.
No, I mean in general.
It was about Halloween candy.
No, I'm talking about what we actually talked about.
What do you mean? I'm confused. I just gave a whole sermon on things.
I know. I'm saying we had a good What's Your Issue?
Oh, we did. We did have a very good What's Your Issue TED Talk. And I'm just, somebody this week also told us, like, they were like, oh, we can't get money from FEMA, but we're busy sending money to Ukraine. And I bit my tongue and I just kept walking. Because I'm like, I don't want to start a discussion that's inappropriate with a neighbor. Good on this person to think they can talk to me like that. But I have a whole lot of feelings on monies and where they go from our country. And I'd rather not divulge into that conversation today. But I'm just like, this is where we're at, that you can tell somebody's side by what they say. I quickly knew where they sat on the line of politics. And I was a little shocked. And I was even more shocked.
I wasn't.
I was a little shocked. But I was even more shocked at how freely this person had that conversation with us.
Not the gays.
Not the
Girl,
gays.
we definitely are not on that side.
Yeah, I am not a log cabin Republican.
Anyway, gay and tired. Very
Gay
gay,
and
very
tired.
tired.
Let me tell you, I promise you our next episode will be joyous. It is going to be all about Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be about Marseille, Cannes, Palma de Mallorca.
You
Rica.
like it? Yes. It's good?
It's good for you?
Yeah.
Yes. Girl, we went to Monte Carlo. I can't wait to tell you all about it. But thank you for joining us on episode 88 of the Manny and Shawn Experience. We're trying not to be super political, but you know what? We just had to address things.
Tis the season to be political.
Tis the season.
It is not a game. If you're not registered, I don't know if it's too late. I don't know when the cutoff is. But if you ain't too late in your state, go register and make sure that you vote. Period.
And I'm not telling you who to vote for.
I'm not telling you who to vote for.
If you believe that person is in best interest of you, then
that's your business.
That's your prerogative. But don't be out here 4 years later talking about, oh, that wasn't good. That was bad. Like a lot of y'all were after the first term he had. And all I did was just smile at you because I'm like, well, you're the fucking idiot that put him there.
I'm just like, educate yourself.
Think what you want. Think what you want. Vote for who you think is going to be right for you and you and your family.
I'm going to do the same.
And I'm going to do the same. And I'm not going to keep, and I'm not going to change the way I talk about that man because he has been a cancer to this country. This country already had systemic racism. This country already had issues. And we have created such a line in between the parties now that I don't see it ever going back, at least in the remainder of our lifetime.
Just call it the divided states of America. It is no longer united. None of it is united.
That's the only thing I would stand with Marjorie Taylor is just put a line down the middle of the country. Half is red, half is blue, and just call it a nice day. Because at this point, I don't know how we continue and get anything done as a country.
Y'all can live in Trumpville, we'll live in Harrisville, and we'll call it a day.
Call it a day. Or, let me go seek asylum somewhere.
Whichever. Anyway, we're going to get out of here.
We're going to get out of here. You have a blessed day.
We love y'all. Thank you for joining us. You know where to find us. MASXP23. All the social media platforms.
We're on Spotify.
Except X. Because fuck Elon Musk.
Fuck Elon Musk. Piece of shit.
Over him too.
Anyway,
we're going to get out.
But I do like the Tesla car. And thank you to the engineers at Tesla that created it because it's not Elon out there creating this fucking car. Anyways, we're out of here. Have a beautiful day. Stay blessed. Do something good for somebody.
And then do something good for yourself. Like vote. Vote.
The right one. Sorry, I'm not talking. Bye for now. See you next week.